People of Earth, your attention please. Codger got a new bash plate. Okay, so this is my new bash plate as it arrived. Still wrapped, haven't unwrapped it yet, so you can see. Anyway, so it comes from Ian Chappel. Have no association with Ian. I've just ordered it, paid for it myself with my own money, and I'm just going to show you how I get on with fitting it. Before I do, I want to talk about why I decided to change my bash plate. It's only a few weeks since I did a video sort of going on about the ordinary bash plate that comes with the bike and saying that I thought it was okay. Since then, I've been thinking about it, and I know that there have been some very, very rare breakages to the engine on the 790 Adventure, mainly caused by, I think, the foot peg on this side moving and levering against the case. When you fit a bash plate like this, which has got a bracket in that ties the two foot pegs together and ties it to the bash plate so they can't move, that virtually eliminates the possibility of that happening. Doesn't prevent it if you threw it off a cliff, obviously, within reason, that is. So if the bike goes down, this will support the movement of that foot peg on this side, or that side indeed. So that's the main reason for doing it. Also, I just thought it was such a nice looking piece of engineering, so I'm going to unwrap it, we'll have a look at it, and then I'm going to install it. So as you can see, quite a solid heavy duty piece of equipment. It has good ventilation at the front here, 790 on, and ventilation, so there's plenty of airflow through there. Obviously that could get mud in it and become packed, so you keep it clean to keep your eye on it, the same as anything else. It's quite heavy because it's very, very thick aluminium. I'm guessing that's 4 or 5 millimeters thick there. So, you know, quite a significant chunk of metal. And part of the installation is to remove these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Take these 6 bolts out and fit that bracket first, and I'll talk about why that's fitted first when I get onto it. So in terms of weight, I've just weighed the centre stand and the spring and bolts that came with it, so all the fittings for the centre stand. That weighs about 2.6 kilograms, so the overall weight of the centre stand and the old bash plate is probably about the same as this on its own, so I won't be increasing the weight of the bike any. So there's one of the bolts out of it. I would apply some heat resistant grease to that, so that in the future if you want to remove this, it's suggested that you leave the bracket, the hanger, in the bike and undo these bolts, so you've got 6 there and the usual 4 on the front, and then drop the pan from there. You put that on the bike that way, so this will lock the 2 sides of the foot pegs together, and then the plate comes up and sits with these holes here. So when you take the plate off, you just undo those bolts, drop the plate down, undo the ones at the front, and take it out as usual. Anything to do with the bash plate, undo this pipe first and make sure you fit it at the end. That's that fuel breather pipe. You don't want to wrench that off. So disconnect that. Next up, there's 4 bolts at the front here and 2 underneath to remove, and that will drop the plate and the covers. So let's get on with that. Now that should be ready to fall. On here there are 2 rubber bungs that sit in the bottom of the engine. Now, Best way to loosen those is with some gentle grips. You have to also watch that this fastener here isn't in the way of the plate. If it is, rotate it around a little bit. I think that'll be okay, but we'll check it later. Just loosen it off, rotate it around and put it back. Getting barracked by the cat. Anyway, so that's another reason why I chose this plate. One, it will strengthen these foot pegs, which you can be almost certain will not be lined up properly. I've already had this come loose and they've moved around, so I know mine won't be right. And secondly, I wanted it to accept the KTM tested tank protection rather than going for metal third-party ones or carbon fibre or whatever. And these are sacrificial and cheap to replace. Okay, so each side has 1, 2, 3. Okay, it looks like there's thread lock in there, or there has been, into that. You can see it on it. So you've got the shorter one and the two longer ones. The shorter one would have had a nut on it, but in the new plate it has a threaded hole, so we'll put some thread lock on it. This to line up with the plate, because these move, so it's all about getting that lined up. You only have to do it once that's in and fixed, your bike's calibrated. From then on you take the bash plate off by undoing these 6 bolts and the 4 at the front. So take a bit of time on it maybe and take it carefully. This I know is 100 Newton meters, so you need the big tools for that and the big torque wrench. So I'll follow the instructions, which is to loosen the other side first and to leave this one alone, but we need to remove these first in any event. Torque's 45. Because I had the centre stand off the other day, these are reasonably loose. I didn't thread lock them yet or tighten them up properly, so when I put them back in I will torque them to 45 Newton meters and thread lock them. You just keep this safe. You won't be using it to put the bash plate back on, but if you ever want to put the old bash plate back on, you'll need that. Now that one, it won't come out, so I'll loosen this off. Don't remove, and that's come out. So in the instruction it does mention loosening this one, loosening that one, and loosening that one on the other side to begin with, and if necessary maybe loosening that one on the other side. It's just a bit of jiggling around because this can move, and it does say in the instructions once you've got that bracket in you never have to do it again. So let's get it right. Looking on this side, yeah, it does look to be, this side you can probably, I don't know if you can see, but on this side it's about 3 or 4 millimeters out, so I need to move one or other of these to line it up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to loosen the swing arm, which I know is 100 Newton meters and is very tight because I torqued it recently, so I'm going to get my wrench out, loosen that off to allow the foot pegs on both sides to move. Loosen that with a T50 hopefully. So it's now in both sides. Now I'm just going to finger tight that, no more than that. And I'm not going to tighten any of this yet until I've got the actual plate bolted in. So that can move, this can move a little bit. which is part of the problem. That does move so freely, but once it's braced with this, it shouldn't move again. Got that to support it. I've got a carpet to rest on because I don't want to scratch my lovely new bash plate before I've even got it on there. The other thing to be careful is that you don't trap this fuel pipe which travels from both tanks. You shouldn't do, you shouldn't go anywhere near that, but just something to be aware of because it connects the two tanks. Yeah, it's just easier the first time to leave those guards off while I line it up. Okay, I'm now going to put the bolts in underneath. These are the 6 bolts that fit underneath. I think they're 5mm Allen. I'm going to put some heat-proof grease on because the catalytic converter is underneath there, so they're likely to endure quite a bit of heat, and catalytic converters under there, like quite a bit of heat like to be generated under there, so it's there actually, so just so they can come out in future. I mean, if the worst came to the worst and they were jammed in, you could just drop it from here anyway and then take them out off the bike. So anyway, I'm going to play it safe. Heat-proof grease, put the 6 in. Everything's still loose here. Look, I've not tightened anything up. There's 2 loose bolts holding the front, and once I've got 1 in underneath here, then I'll take all of that support out and get on with it. So with 2 loosely in, it's loosely bolted at the front, these bolts are loose, nothing's tight. I'm now going to gradually put all the other bolts in, and so it gets everything in position before I tighten a thing. Okay, they've all gone in nicely, which proof of precision engineering. So they're all in, nothing's tight yet, everything's loose. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tighten the bash plate first so that it's in position. Once it's properly in position, then everything else should be calibrated from that. I'll then tighten the swing arm to 100 Newton meters, and then these bolts to 45 Newton meters. This one, sorry, and that one, 45 Newton meters. Not the side stand, I think that's 47, but don't quote me on that. I did that yesterday. I'm also going to put blue thread lock on these lower ones. I'm not going to replace the blue thread lock in these ones here because I've only loosened them. So keep my eye on those and check them in a week. If they've loosened in the slightest, I'll take them out and put some more thread lock on them, but I think they'll be okay. These 6 bolts, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and the 4 at the front are all tight. They're not tightened, they're just tight, just to get everything in position so that it pulls hopefully the foot pegs into the right position, and the geometry of everything is now spot on. So I'm happy now. So what I'm going to do now is go around and get my torque wrench and torque these up properly, which will put those in position, and then finally tighten up the plate and put the tank protectors back on. Difficulty, here we go with it. Locate it on that lug, slide it up. Now the shorter bolt, which previously had a nut on it, doesn't need a nut because it's threaded underneath, but I will put thread lock on that, I think. Most importantly, my obsession, put that in there, look. So I hope you can see these are the tools that I used. I particularly didn't want to use any force whatsoever, and it was a very gentle install. Everything was engineered well within tolerance, everything just slotted into place as long as you were careful. There was a recommendation that you might need a rubber mallet just to tap the foot pegs to line up with the bracket, but I didn't find that was necessary because I'd loosened everything and just moved it by hand. Heavy wrench to undo the 100 Newton meter swing arm bolts. Usual various Torx bits, but you basically need a T45, a T50 and a T30. A 5mm Allen, and I just used an 8mm spanner and a 10mm spanner to loosen the bolts before tackling with the Torx. So that basically is everything that you require, and do remember to put all your parts, bits and pieces away for safekeeping, such as this. So all my nuts and bolts are in that bag. I'll fasten those to the old skid plate, put the skid plate away until one day when Ludwig decides to move on. I'll put him back to stock, replace everything. And one good thing is about videoing things is when you can't remember where things went, you can watch the video back again. So, with the washing machine gurgling away in the background, Codger Biker is out! Can't wait to get out and ride, but it's pouring with the rain. Bye! Job's a good one. Codger Biker is out. One of the best things about a motorbike is having tools to mess with. I do like a nice tool. So does She Must Be Obeyed, apparently. She said she'd married a nice tool.